Well, good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you once again. And incredibly, it is now September. How fast this year is going by, even with everything that's going on, and how difficult and how troubling this year has been and still is. It's incredible to think that now we're heading towards the end of summer and into autumn. Just the most extraordinary year this has been so far. Now, what we have been doing actually since lockdown began all the way back in March is we've been doing morning prayer on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And during morning prayer, we've been working our way just small bit by small bit through Mark's Gospel, and we're carrying that on today. But the morning prayers have taken lots of different shapes, sometimes with music, sometimes with lots of prayer time, sometimes with silence. But at the moment, what we're doing, because we're getting really into that crucial part of Mark's Gospel where Jesus is arrested, his crucifixion, and ultimately his resurrection, these are the absolute core texts of our faith. They're the bits that really tell the story of what Jesus did and was doing and what it means for us. So we need to really focus on them and give ourselves a chance to really delve into these passages and see what God is trying to say to us through them today. So, just to let you know where we were. So, at the last morning prayer, we're in Mark chapter 14, verse 43, and this is where Jesus gets arrested, where Judas arrives with lots of soldiers who've been arranged by the chief priests and the elders of the Jewish faith. He gets arrested. There's a little bit of a skirmish. Jesus says he does not want any violence. He doesn't want his disciples to retaliate. And so, as Jesus is arrested, the disciples have a choice to either get arrested with him and run. And what do they all do? They all desert him and flee. And Jesus is led away. And so we pick up the story with Jesus just being arrested, and the disciples have absolutely scattered. So now Jesus is on his own, having to face what waits for him. Now, what would be a good thing for you to do, if you can, is to have a Bible nearby you or to have it on your phone. If you need an audio Bible, have that ready. That'd be great. You can get it on your phone or your laptop or something along those lines. But if you've got a Bible near you that you can look at the passage, not only can you read it while I read it, but also what you can do is after we finish this, you can go back to it and look at it afresh. So often, if you read a passage 2 or 3 times, you'll find different things starting to come out. So it can be helpful to have it nearby so you can do that reflection as we go through. So what we're going to do is we're going to get straight into the passage, and then I'll do a little reflection. We'll say the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll get about our day. So here we are. Mark chapter 14, verse 53. Jesus has been arrested and has been led away. And now, first of all, he is brought before the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin, they are the Jewish authority. They are the ones in absolute authority. They have a huge amount of influence in local communities and in local society, and they hold a lot of power, and they can judge whether someone is of God or not, is following God in the right way or not, is blaspheming or not, is doing heresy or not. So they are the authority on whether someone deserves to live and follow God, or actually they can call for people to be put to death because of the way they are saying or what they are saying. And so Jesus is brought before them to be tried in relation to his claims and what he's saying about who he is and where he's come from. So here we go. Jesus has just been arrested, and this is what happens. Mark chapter 14, verse 53. After Jesus was arrested, they took Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests, elders, and teachers of the law came together. Peter followed him at a very big distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he sat there with the guards and warmed himself by the fire. We're going to come back to Peter on Friday, and we get to a little bit of his story. The chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were looking for evidence against Jesus so that they could put him to death, but they didn't find any. Many testified falsely against him, but the statements didn't agree. Then some stood up and gave this false testimony against him. Sorry, I just got a message on my phone. Some stood up and gave this false testimony against him. We heard him say, "I will destroy this man-made temple, and in 3 days build another, not made by man." Yet even their testimony didn't agree. Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, "Are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these men are bringing before you?" But Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. Again the high priest asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" "I am," said Jesus, "and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One, coming on the clouds of heaven." The high priest tore his clothes. "Why do we need any more witnesses?" he asked. "You've heard the blasphemy. What do you think?" They all condemned him as worthy of death, and then some began to spit at him. They blindfolded him, struck him with their fists, and said, "Prophesy!" And the guards took him and beat him. It's here before the Sanhedrin, this high court of the Jewish faith, that we really see the story start to unfold. So what we first of all see is a lot of people brought before the courts and they testify against Jesus, but the statements don't add up and it's all kind of false and it's not working. Now what we can gather from that is that people were being put up to it. There have been people who've been paid to be witnesses against Christ. But the problem with that is they'd asked so many people to do it that the stories didn't match and none of it's starting to kind of cohere and none of it's making sense. But we see that they're so desperate to get rid of Christ that they will, just as they paid Judas to betray him, they're encouraging people to give false testimony against him, false witness. They're saying, "Oh, we need to do it. We'll give you something. Just say this. Just make up stuff. Just make up something terrible about him." The problem being that none of it makes sense. But through all of this false testimony and something that is clearly false, Jesus doesn't respond. He doesn't answer to it. He doesn't argue. Seems a bit strange, doesn't it, when somebody's saying something about you that you know isn't true, to not argue about it. But this is because Jesus is waiting for one key question to be asked. For one thing to be asked where he will answer and answer clearly. So all this false testimony is going on, and they're kind of like, "Why are you not saying anything? Why are you not responding? Do you not see what's going to happen if you don't?" And Jesus doesn't say a word, but then what happens is he waits for the one question that actually he's there to answer. And this is the question: are you not going to answer? What is this testimony that these people are bringing before you? But Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. And here's the question he'd been waiting for. The high priest asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" Now what the high priest is asking, what he's saying is, are you the Son of God? Saying the Son of the Blessed One because God was a word which was so revered that it was kind of deemed not right to say it out loud. You would find ways of saying God without saying the word. So saying the Son of the Blessed One was a way of referring to God without saying that sacred word. Words are very sacred, and some of them have lost that sacredness. In the Jewish faith, to say God was a sacred word, so you found a way of saying it without saying it. So when the high priest says, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" he's saying, "Are you the Son of God?" And what is Jesus' response? He speaks for the first time and he says, "I am. And you will see me sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One." Another reference to God, another way of saying God without saying the word God. The right hand of God, and coming on the clouds of heaven. Now this was massive heresy. This was blasphemy beyond kind of anything. In this moment, right here, Jesus has a chance, because none of the testimony against him is adding up. He has a chance to walk out of there. And even the high priest goes, "Why are you answering? None of this testimony is making sense. Just tell me, answer to one question. Are you actually the Son of God?" and the chief priest thinking he's never going to admit to that because he knows what will happen. If he says that, that's the end of this. That's blasphemy beyond blasphemy. That's the worst thing you could say, and that means he's absolutely going to be put to death if he says this. So he's never going to say that. Jesus has a way out. Now remember, not that long ago in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus was really troubled by what he knew was going to happen, and he asks his Father in heaven, he says, if it's possible, let this cup be taken from me. If it's possible, can this be done some other way? I don't really want to go through this. But not your will, but my will. And here that is properly put to the test. So often I think what we find is we say to God or we say to others, yeah, absolutely. If it's possible, I'd rather not do this, but if it's what needs to happen, let's do it. Let's go through it. Yeah, and whatever you want, I will do it. God, I will follow you wherever you lead. No, it might be difficult, but your will, not my will. I will sacrifice what I want for what you want. So often as followers of God, we say those words, but when it actually comes to be tested, did we really mean it? I mean, really. And here Jesus is in that moment. Not my will, but your will, God. I'll follow you, whatever needs to happen. Here Jesus has a chance to get out of this. All he needs to do is to answer the question, no, I'm not. 3 words, no, I'm not. And he'd be out. But he says, I am. I am the Son of God, and you will see me sat at God's right hand, coming on the clouds of heaven. Boom, finished, done. Even it's so incredibly insulting to the high priest. It's so just unacceptable that he tears his clothes. This very symbolic reaction of how terrible. This is awful. We need to. Tears his clothes, and people start to beat him, and they spit on him, and he's led away by the guards to be beaten up. I mean, this is horrific, the reaction to it. But Jesus knew just by saying those 2 words, I am, that the story was done. There was only one way this was going to end now. But people can be in no doubt now as to who Jesus was saying he was. Now, this goes all the way back again to when Jesus asked his disciples, who are people saying that I am? And then the question, who do you say I am? And again, here's that question. And time after time, I have said to people, you need to answer this for yourself. Are you the Son of God? Is Jesus actually the Son of God? Well, he says that he is. Are you the Son of God? I am, he said, knowing what that would mean. There's no room for kind of getting out of this. There's no kind of wiggle room. Jesus himself has said he is the Son of God. Do we follow him? Do we ignore it? Do we think he's daft? What do you think? I mean, he said that knowing that he was going to put to death. It didn't bring with it any glory in that moment. In that moment, he was kind of condemned. What an extraordinary thing to do, if it isn't true. The fact that Jesus was willing to die, and yet he had so many opportunities to get out of it, to kind of not go through with it. Well, that tells us something about his claims. Are you the Son of God? I am, he said. He's beaten, he's spat on, he's mocked, he's led away by the guards, and they start beating up on him as well. He's alone, he's been deserted by his followers. Peter has followed him, but at a big distance, so he can't be recognised. And what we find on Friday, well, is what Peter does. What happens? I wonder if in that moment Peter saw Jesus being led away, and whether there was a little glance at each other. Whether they saw each other across the distance. Peter would have seen Jesus with his blood and his bruises having been beaten up and being led away. And whether there was just this glance And in that moment, what would that have been like for Jesus and for Peter? We need to put ourselves in that position. As we bring this morning to a close, we need to say, look, we can see Jesus, who has claimed to be the Son of God, being beaten up, and he is looking straight at you. Who do you say that he is now? Not in power, not in glory, not doing miracles, not healing. Somebody who's been mocked and beaten and spat on, claiming to be the Son of God. Well, who is he to you now? What we're going to do is we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, and then we're going to get together again on Friday. It's wonderful that you can catch up with this whenever you want to, whether you do it in the morning or through the day or whenever, really. But on Friday, we're going to get to the next part of the story, which is Peter's reaction to what he's seen and when he is questioned. Okay, let's say the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Well, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I hope that you're all managing to kind of get out a bit and do things while staying completely safe. Like I say, we'll be back here on Friday morning, but until then, may you know God with you, and may you be able to live in his joy, his peace, his grace, and his strength. I'll see you Friday.